Listen to me, life will hit you hard. There will be moments when you feel like you can't take another step, when the weight of the struggle is crushing, when every door seems to slam in your face. And in those moments, doubt creeps in, fear takes over. You start to wonder, where is God in all of this? But I'm here to tell you something. This storm you're facing, it's not here to break you, it's here to make you. Because the greatest battles come before the greatest breakthroughs. What if, instead of asking, why is this happening to me, you started asking, what is God preparing me for? See, most people let pain define them, but the strong, they let pain refine them. And if you trust God through this, if you lean into His plan instead of your fear, you will come out stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than ever before. Because God's delays are not His denials. His silence is not His absence. And what feels like a setback is often a setup for something greater. So the question is, are you going to let this moment defeat you? Or are you going to rise up and trust that God is working behind the scenes? Because I promise you this, if you hold on, if you push forward, if you refuse to give up, your greatest victory is on the other side of this storm. Life is unpredictable. One moment, everything seems to be going smoothly, and the next, you're faced with a challenge so big it feels like the weight of the world is on your shoulders. Pain, whether emotional, physical, or spiritual, can feel overwhelming. It can make you question your strength, your purpose, and even your faith. But here's what you need to understand. Pain is temporary, but faith is eternal. Think about the hardest moments you've been through. At the time, it felt like they would never end. The heartbreak, the failure, the rejection, the disappointment, it all seemed like a storm with no end in sight. But look at you now. You're still standing. You survived. And not only did you survive, but you grew stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The pain you thought would break you actually shaped you. That's because pain is never permanent. It's a moment in time, a chapter in your story, but it is not the whole book. God never promised a life without challenges. In fact, He tells us in John 16:33, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart. I have overcome the world." That means difficulties are inevitable, but defeat is optional. Your struggles do not define you, your faith does. And faith is not about having all the answers. It's about trusting that God is in control, even when everything around you feels out of control. Faith gives you the strength to endure when everything in you wants to give up. It gives you hope when circumstances look hopeless. When you believe that God is working all things for your good, even the painful things, you begin to see challenges differently. You stop seeing them as obstacles and start seeing them as opportunities for growth. Consider the story of Joseph in the Bible. He was betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and thrown into prison. If anyone had a reason to believe that pain was permanent, it was him. But he never lost faith in God's plan, and because of his unwavering trust, what looked like a tragedy turned into his greatest triumph. He went from the pit to the palace, from prisoner to prime minister. Why? Because pain was temporary, but his faith was eternal. The same is true for you. The pain you're feeling right now is not the end of your story. You might not understand why you're going through this, but God does. He sees the bigger picture. He knows the purpose behind the struggle. And if you hold on, if you refuse to let fear and doubt take over, you will come out on the other side stronger than ever before. So, don't let temporary pain make you forget eternal promises. Trust that God is doing something greater in your life, even when you can't see it. Keep your faith, because this storm will pass, but the strength you gain from it will last forever. Waiting is one of the hardest things to endure, especially when you feel like you've been doing everything right. You've prayed, you've worked hard, you've stayed faithful, but nothing seems to be happening. The breakthrough you're expecting hasn't come. The opportunity you're hoping for keeps slipping away. The healing you've been believing for still hasn't shown up. It's frustrating, it's painful. And if you're not careful, it can lead you to believe that maybe God isn't listening, or worse, that He's saying no. But here's the truth. God's delays are not His denials. Just because something hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Sometimes what feels like rejection is actually redirection. What seems like a setback is really a setup for something greater. And if you let impatience and doubt take over, you might walk away from something amazing, something that was meant for you. simply because it didn't happen on your timeline. Look at the story of Lazarus in the Bible. When Jesus heard that his dear friend was sick, he didn't rush to heal him. He waited. And in that waiting, Lazarus died. To those watching, it looked like Jesus had arrived too late. But what seemed like a delay was actually part of a much greater plan. Jesus didn't just want to heal Lazarus. He wanted to resurrect him. He wanted to show the world that even when it looks like all hope is gone, God is still in control. The same principle applies to your life. Sometimes God allows delays because he's working on something bigger than you can see. Maybe you didn't get that job you wanted because he has a better opportunity lined up. Maybe that relationship ended because he's preparing someone who will love and support you in ways you never imagined. Maybe the door you've been knocking on isn't opening because God is building a brand new one just for you. One of the biggest mistakes people make is giving up too soon. They assume that if something doesn't happen right away, it's never going to happen. But that's not how God works. His timing is perfect, even when it doesn't match our expectations. He sees the whole picture, past, present, and future, while we only see a small part. So instead of seeing delays as denial, start seeing them as divine appointments. When things don't go according to your plan, trust that God has a better plan. Instead of getting discouraged, get expectant. Know that if he's making you wait, he's also making you stronger, wiser, and more prepared for what's ahead. Your breakthrough is coming. Your prayers are being answered. It may not look the way you expected, but it will be exactly what you need. So don't lose faith in the delay. Because when God finally moves, it will be bigger and better than anything you ever imagined. Life has a way of testing you. There are moments when the pressure feels unbearable, when the weight of your challenges seems too much to carry. Maybe you're struggling financially, battling an illness, facing heartbreak, or dealing with rejection. You feel squeezed, stretched, and overwhelmed. But let me tell you something. Pressure is not here to break you. It's here to make you. Think about diamonds. They don't form in comfort. They don't appear overnight. A diamond starts as a simple piece of carbon buried deep beneath the earth, exposed to intense heat and crushing pressure for years. It goes through a process of transformation that seems brutal, but in the end, something strong, valuable, and unbreakable emerges. That's exactly what happens in life. God allows pressure not to destroy you, but to refine you.